Brilliant. So we are live. Hello and welcome to Time to Talk. And I am Dr. Claire Gilvray, but I am joined today by Julia. How do you pronounce your surname, Julia? Gaudio.
Have to.
Gaudio?
Matt Dare. Oh, hang on, you've got Gaudio. So Gaudio is
I
my maiden
do.
name.
Okay.
It's my name. So I just switched between the two. So either's good.
I have the same thing. It's that almost spy-like identity, isn't it? You've got two
It
names.
is.
But
Can't let it go. Can't let the
yeah.
maiden name go.
But I have asked Julia to come and join me today. Julia and I have known each other now for quite a long time. And we were saying there was lots of different topics we could talk about, but I was really keen that maybe we could have a conversation today about workplace well-being.
Mhm.
Julia, you own and are the managing director of, to me, the biggest kind of salon and beauty salon and hairdressers here in Cambridge, called Elaje. Do you want to tell me a little bit? Because I feel we've not necessarily had the conversation about how you've ended up where you have in terms of your business, which is really successful.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very long story short, I've always been, I've had a very privileged career in that I've worked in high-end salons and I've had very good mentor and bosses in my career time as a hairdresser. And when I was about 27, 28, I decided to open my own salon. And that was always my dream.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it was. And if I'm being really honest, I never had a plan as to how that might go or where that might end up. It has just evolved
Yeah.
and evolved and evolved. And I now have what we say is one of the most successful salons in Cambridge, and it's large as well. So we have around 30 girls, and it's a female salon, very female based,
Mm-hmm.
from a team perspective. And yeah, I've been very blessed with who's around me. I think that has been really like how I've got to where I am. I think it has been all the people that I have, team members, previous staff, mentors, people like yourself, like anyone that I come across that helps and supports and teaches me has just helped me evolve this business, really.
And I think there's a two-way thing there because I'm probably able to kind of be a little bit step back in terms of, because you're saying I've been lucky with the people around me, but actually I think you've cultivated that, and that's kind of why I wanted to have this
Yeah.
conversation. Because when I look at your team of 30, is it 30 females, I don't like calling them girls because they're
No,
women,
I
but
miss.
there's
I'm like, oh, should I really be saying hi girls to like 40-year-old women? Yeah.
yeah, but it feels like a family, and it feels like
Yeah.
there's a closeness there that isn't necessarily always there in terms of workplace
Mhm.
teams. And that's why I kind of thought it would be really lovely to kind of hear it from you in terms of how you have done that and like, what you kind of think about in terms of looking after that team and creating that culture within LJ.
Yeah. So my main priority is I want to keep my team. So
Hmm.
my goal is always, I want to maintain and preserve my team. I'm all for people moving on and leaving and going and seeking new adventures and careers and whatever they want to do, because that's natural and normal. But while they're here and they're with me, it's about how do I keep them and how do I preserve them,
Yeah.
because that it's a small world, big world out there with lots of opportunity. So I think part of that comes from knowing that if their minds and their attitudes are healthy and they are supported, then they're likely to, it's not necessarily remain loyal, because essentially we don't know what we might get offered or whatever happens. But I think you can just become, you have that more of an attachment.
Yeah.
And dependency, like, because again, I'm not trying to create a dependency where they can't be without me or be without the salon, but I want them to have access to everything. I want them to come to work and know that if they have a bad day at work because of a situation that's happened with a client, whether they've had a bad day because of a personal relationship that's had an effect on them in the morning, or there's been a family trauma, anything at all. I want them to know that when they come to work and they work with me, that we can help with that. We can support that throughout. And that, again, doing this for a long time, I've seen the tragedies, I've seen divorce, I've seen baby loss, I've seen child deaths, I've seen, parental loss, I've seen everything. And I think knowing what I know and being included in people's personal lives to the degree that I am, it's my duty of care to provide support and well-being in and out of work. And that is fundamentally my job and my role.
Yeah. And I see you kind of scooping people up on an individual basis. And then I also see you kind of stepping back and going, okay, what does this group need? What does this team need? And, Lucy and I have been in and done a few sessions for you haven't we, on terms things like sleep and stress, and you've had other people in to have other kind of fun sessions and educational sessions. Do you actually ask your staff group what they would like? Do you kind of just know them so well that you kind of know this is something that's being talked about, or worries that you're hearing being mentioned? How do you kind of go about making, those sorts of choices?
It's interesting. So both. So I'll always do little, Q&As and get them, I'll do a brief and put a post-it note in everyone's hands and say, right, put 3 things down that you would like to, or you'd like to learn or invest more time in, or learn, have welcomed into the salon, or an activity you want to do. But I kind of, what happens is often my office door will knock, and I will see maybe 3 or 4 people over a month period with some kind of stress, pressure, problem. Again, usually unwork related. Quite often it's just a work related issue. And then I can sort of understand myself how to, round that up, bring in the correct person, because if they're feeling it or they're going through it, it then can infect everybody else, because they're going to talk about it, and therefore we need to then project that and turn it into a learning method or a supporting method, or like recently we've had one of our girls, and she won't mind me saying it, but has had breast cancer. So again, there's nothing I haven't seen yet. And immediately being female, has an impact. That has an impact on everybody else, not only because they love her and she's great and she's doing brilliantly, but they feel for her, but they also have breasts. They're also now, oh my God, this is someone's mum, this is my work.
Happened to me. Yeah.
So then my duty of care is, okay, how do I do that? Okay, well, we need to bring in someone to do breast checks with you, or we need to ensure that if you have any concerns, we provide private healthcare for our team. So, part of that is we have, the wellness packages on there. We have the mental health package. We try and cover everything, so that when one person is affected, I just know domino effect. It just told on everybody. So I just try and read my room. I do a bit of both. Ask, read my room.
And in terms of, I guess, things that you've maybe done along the way, is there anything that stands out in your head as something that had the biggest impact or got the best feedback, or is there anything that stands out? Maybe it's obvious, maybe it wasn't so obvious, but anything that kind of stands out in your mind?
So what doesn't? So the thing that I avoid a little bit now, but that's probably something I need to bring back in, is I've learned group fitness fitness team days are not received brilliantly, and that's something I haven't cracked yet. And it's not necessarily, it hasn't necessarily gone wrong, or it hasn't necessarily, caused a problem, but I also know it's quite exposing, and it doesn't necessarily bring the impact that I've thought it could bring. So I nail that. Maybe that's something you and Lucy can help me with. But I do think the talks, I think those small talks where we invite people like yourself in, like a sleep talk, or a talk that encourages and motivates them to care for themselves, has the most impact on their well-being, because they can take that away and think about it. Just, you know, like you've helped us recently with various small things with different team members, but that's come from the trust within the conversations that you had with them over periods of time. So I think you don't have to go big. Like sometimes I've gone too big and created this huge day and overwhelmed them with too many people and too many things. I think small interjections of information and people that know what they're talking about, I think have the biggest impact on their mindset and how they look at things, for sure.
And the thing that you do as well that's really obvious, again, we've kind of done other workplace kind of well-being sessions, but you shut up the shop, don't you? Like the place shuts, everyone can go. There's not a, you know, you hold the fort while we all have this. It's very much we're looking after everybody, which I think, you know, is really appreciated, that you value this so much that actually the door is shut and you all have the time to give to this. It is interesting. The fitness thing is interesting because we have tried to run that with other businesses before, and there is something, isn't there, about being physically active that is actually quite individual. We all have slightly different starting points. As you say, there can be massive barriers around that. Some people like things like yoga. Some people like things that are outside and running. Some people need something to be really physical in terms of a gym setup. And it is really tricky to kind of cultivate something that is going to capture everybody. But you know, I think that's a thing that often companies maybe make the mistake of going, okay, well, I've set up this fitness session for my staff and that's well being looked after. And actually, when they look at the numbers, maybe only 1 or 2 people are actually going to that session. It's not really doing what we hoped it would do.
What I've learned is that as soon as the thing that I really, really, really preach to the team and have to regularly remind them is that we all back the same ball. So we are, that's clients included, like that ball is being batted by us, not against each other. So when it comes to team well-being, with whatever you do, because anything you do that involves physical or mental, you know, a mental commitment, you know, that's to do with your, you know, your health and your fitness and your way of thinking. If you interject any form of competitiveness within your team, it's a very dangerous game.
Yeah.
And I learned that, maybe it's a story for another day, but I learned that I damaged my team through doing something, and I had to really work hard, and it was my fault through taking them out in the fields, thinking I was creating this, you know, incredible day for them, which was map reading and all sorts. But what I actually did was created a problem because I split the team, you know, and it's back to that is, you know, I'm accountable, I'm responsible, and we had Rounders match a couple of years ago. Oh my God, it ended terribly.
Which you would think exactly on paper, you feel like it should be, it's outside, it's kind of having fun, but exactly that competitiveness.
Terrible. I told them, I was like, nah, never again, because the team captains were competitive, great, but actually competitive. When they had to select their teams, there was a bit of, I'll have you, actually no, I won't have you, which then left a negative effect on. So what you don't realise you're doing is you're damaging. As soon as you start separating your team into being against one another, you start, and sadly physical fitness does that. And so there needs to be, and like you said, my team are I have 14-year-olds and I have 50-year-olds, and the 15-year-olds don't want to do yoga. 50-year-olds do want to do yoga. Again, you've got this, if I'm 15 and I can't do a downward dog, I feel inadequate against someone who's 50 and can. So I haven't cracked that yet. So maybe, like I said, maybe it's a conversation for me, you and Lucy, but physical has not done me any favours as yet properly. So yeah, I need to think about that.
But I think the lovely thing is that you are thinking about it. I think, as I say, some people will sit back and kind of feel like they've ticked that box in some way and not actually really looked at the impact, and that it's not translating into health in the way that we would like it to. Do you think in terms of your health that where does that sit in all of this? Because I think sometimes whenever you're giving so much and looking after lots of other people, it's really, really important that you're kind of looking after you as well. Is that something that I think you do value that, don't you? You
I
do.
do. I think I could look after myself better. You know, I definitely could do more outdoor stuff, and I could definitely have a bit more quiet time and downtime for myself, which I value. Um, but I enjoy what I do, and I think that's why I don't feel like I need lots and lots of different solutions to my own problems, because I actually love it, and it gives me so much fulfillment in someone hitting rock bottom and being able to give them the tools and the support in whatever way that is in order to get them back up and running. I think for me that is like the win. So
Yeah.
I don't carry people's weight. I just don't. I don't go home at night and carry other people's weight. That's always been a big discipline for me.
Yeah.
Is I'll do my bit, and I care, and I'm very happy to lay out everything we can for you. But what I can't do is go home and take it with me. So I'm very good at leaving it, whether that's a friend or at work. But yeah, I'm good. Like I've got plenty of people. Yeah, I'm like you.
But I would say you do that in a healthy way. So I don't think you drop it, if that makes sense. I want to add that in there. There's that you think with somebody about what they need, and you kind of make sure you're activating that for them. So I think, I think having that boundary is really, really important. But I think you do it in a really healthy way, so that person always knows that they're going to be looked after. It's not that it's been put down and forgotten. It's being put down with in the right place or with the right person, which I think is really clear, just in terms of the fact that the girls or the women in that team want to share with you and want your support. Super. We know that we're kind of time limited. Thank you so much for joining me
No,
today. And
appreciate it.
I always say at the end of these sessions, like, if anyone's got any questions, please do message me, and I can maybe pass them on to Julia. But I think we'll be back, Julia. We've got other conversations to
Oh,
have in
come on,
this room. So
for inviting me. Have a
thank
lovely
you.
day. Bye,
You
Claire.
too. Bye.
Bye.